Thanks for joining us, everyone, whatever time of day this is for you. And I'm going to share my screen, give a short intro, we'll introduce the panelists, and then we'll kick it off. I appreciate everybody's time, and we're also really curious to hear your thoughts. So either if you want to chat, use the chat on Zoom or use the chat on Huva, and later we'll have plenty of time. We'll try to finish about half the time of the panel, maybe earlier, and give plenty of time for participants to participate as well. So the topic for us is AI in exploratory learning, the new norm or research toy. And we're going to make it a debate, meaning we're going to try to take some extreme views here. Probably the truth lies somewhere in between. And we'll run polls to figure out what you guys think. Essentially, will AI save exploratory learning environments? And I'll try to save just as I found a way to hide the control here. What we mean when we say exploratory learning environments, and by no means that is an official definition or complete definition, we mean non-linear online environments. So not those that you get an answer right and you move to the next one, etc., but non-linear environments that have a large design space for students to explore. Typically, the solution space is ill-defined as well. So typically, there's no one correct answer, but people can use the environment to experiment and try different things, essentially to explore. The term is pretty correct. It's hard to define exploratory learning environments without using the words as a definition. My mental model of this is a pile of Legos versus a step-by-step instructions. There is value in step-by-step instructions, but we aim for the pile of bricks here when students indeed get to build and play. With the benefit of building and playing entails, such as more authentic tasks, more complex, more messy, more agency for learners, more room for creativity. And Manolis sent me this really nice word cloud. It includes, we really look at the broad view of learning in exploratory learning environments. It can be inquiry and problem-based and project-based and PBL, of course, etc. Constructivists, constructionists, all these things, discovery learning, all these things we include again. So they're the non-linear environments where actually we embrace the messiness and enjoy its authenticity. Together with the messiness, people get lost. It's hard to learn when you don't have a lot of explicit scaffolding. And AI can help here. On one hand, AI can offer just-in-time personalized support for students and for teachers. On the other hand, we researchers enjoy developing things that have words such as NI and exploration, and they rarely make it to the field in a way that really leaves impact. And we can look at technologies that exist right now in the field. Remarkably few of them were created by folks from education. We have some generic technologies, usually pedagogies are not very creative, and it's hard to embed good pedagogies in the classroom. So while we think we know how to do things, the impact is really an open challenge, and history doesn't prove that we know how to make impactful technologies. So the debate here is really, will AI, artificial intelligence, help make ELE, exploratory learning environments? Will AI help ELE become this broad mode of learning? On the other hand, is it just another toy that us researchers enjoy talking to each other about? And to answer this and to give a conclusive and definitive answer, we have 4 fantastic panelists. So I'll have each of you introduce yourselves, and I'll call you in the order in which I see the squares, and I'll turn off the share. So Manolis, do you want to introduce yourself quickly?
Yeah, thanks, Ido. Hi, everyone. I'm Manolis Mavrikis. I'm professor at the UCL Knowledge Lab, and I'm also Alan Turing Fellow, and I do research in this area of providing feedback in exploratory environments. And yeah, I'll leave it to that for now. We said short, yeah.
Thanks, Manolis. Inge?
Good morning, everybody. Inge Molenaar from the Rabba University in the Netherlands. I am the director of the National Education Lab Artificial Intelligence, and I also am associate professor at the Educational Science Department. And I'm super excited about this panel. Being in pro and con roles will be quite interesting. So we'll leave it at that for now.
Thank you, Tanja.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Tanja Käser. I'm a professor at EPFL, working at the intersection of machine learning and education, and also focusing on IELs and interactive environments. And yeah, also be very excited to speak from my experience in pro and in con.
Thanks, Tanja. Kobi?
Hi, everyone. Kobi here. I'm faculty at Gurion University in Israel and the University of Edinburgh in the UK. And my research interests span AI and education.
Fantastic. And thanks, guys. I'll quickly introduce myself as well. Either role, I'm associate professor in Technion, Israel Institute of Technology, at the faculties of science education and faculty, which should be renamed in a couple of weeks, to decision and information sciences. I also had some of the OECD PISA's test writing endeavors, where we actually use analytics to test exploratory learning in a testing environment. And I'm excited as well to be here also because I get to learn, which is the best part of this, and to listen to you guys. Here's a format it will do. I'll share the screen again. And we'll have two cycles. In a minute, I'll go over which you see at the bottom here what the cycles are. One cycle is about will AI save the learners? And for Kobi and Inge will argue for it, Manolis and Tanja against. And then we'll swap sides. We'll ask whether AI will save the teachers. Tanja and Manolis on one side, and Inge and Kobi will say, not really. Again, we can work with teachers in education as a research projects, but it will never make a large impact. The structure of each cycle is as follows. Each side will have 3 minutes argument by the first person that I wrote below. Then each side will have a 2-minute rebuttal by the second person in each pair that I wrote below. Following that, we have another panelist, only fair to give AI a chance to defend itself. So we'll use the GPT AI engine to provide their own view of the questions. We gave GPT-3 exactly the same prompts that we're giving panelists, so to keep it even playing field. And then we'd be glad to hear one comment from the audience. And I don't have Hoover open right now, so if you could use the chat in Zoom, that would be preferred. And then Grace will help us by launching a poll to see which side was more convincing. So I have 2 cycles of this, about 10 to 15 minutes per cycle, and then we'll open the floor. Okay, and with that, I have a fancy timer. Here's the first question. I'll stop sharing the screen. The first question then, come on.
Ido, one question to you. What about our computational panel member? When are you going to talk about that?
Oh, sorry, I thought I mentioned that. That's after, after both sides, after the rebuttal.
Okay, great.
GPT-3 is going to kick in. So before the audience participation. I'll paste the prompt in the chat window, and I'll read it out loud. Exploratory learning environments, such as many games and simulations, offer learners a broad space to explore and experiment with. This allows for more agency and more authentic learning scenarios. However, this also means that students are more likely to flounder and mismanage their learning. Luckily, recent advancement in AI enable us to take the good without the bad. AI can provide support that helps all students be effective learners while maintaining their relative freedom. Agree or disagree? And actually, the disagree, the research toy side will kick us off with Manolis. 3 minutes are on.
Okay, hi everyone. Thanks again. So those of you who know me or know a little bit of my work and what I said before, you might be surprised to see me in this camp, but in the interest of keeping this fun, I'd better start by declaring my conflict of interest. I got paid by a group of lobbyists who do not like AI to succeed. So jokes apart, in order to convince you, persuasion theory also says that I must highlight my credibility. So I was the organizer for over 10 years of a series of workshops on intelligence support in exploratory environments in AI Ed, École, ISLS, and other conferences. We're about to do one also in AI Ed next year. So trust me when I say that I know that all of this AI mumbo jumbo, it's just an intellectual activity. As I saw people churning papers just for the sake of it, and certainly what I would call academic toys, that is of limited practical sustainable application and no real world impact beyond the ivory tower. So since I got paid to say that, I'll even go as far as targeting my own work in exploratory learning. We have built environments for mathematics such as algebra and fractions lab that are used by schools in practice, but are highly specialized and very narrow defined. So again, similar to maybe solving a kind of a chess play, definitely this is a criterion of academic toy. So yes, we also won some awards, but again, these are esoteric and similar to the satiric Ig Nobel Prize, maybe similar to levitating a frog by magnetism. Who cares about that? So even if we don't worry about that, and we consider that all research is useful, I would ask participants to consider the paradox that using AI for supporting students in exploratory learning, it creates this paradox. For example, providing feedback requires taking a completely reductionist approach and break down the task, and that limits students' understanding and their opportunities for agency and problem solving. And to make things worse, the students become reliant on AI rather than exercise their own critical thinking skills. So let's not even start on what would happen, since AI is not perfect. It's made by humans and it's trained also on our biases. My colleagues and I did a systematic review on how AI can help address teacher and student biases, and we found very limited work. Instead, I think we are doomed to this perpetuating existing inequalities, and don't even get me started on how using AI for exploratory learning is not even cost effective. It needs a lot of investment in technology and infrastructure. It contributes to greenhouse emissions and damages the environment, and by extension, our students that we're trying to help. So how is this going to save exploratory learning environments? I'm not sure.
Thank you. Oh, brilliant. So you say, right.
Really, I think I'm ready to throw in the towel and go home after this.
I know, yeah, and find a new profession. Okay, now the task challenge of actually convincing us that actually AI does what's something in the context of exploratory learning environments. We have Kobi, come on.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So saving ELEs, Manolis, wow. So, ELEs for me are so special. They got me interested in education. I was your run-of-the-mill AI researcher. And during my postdoc, I had a proposal to help ELE for learning statistics and probabilities called Tinker Plots be implemented in a bilingual school in Cambridge, Massachusetts. And I remember how my eyes opened wide when I saw the brilliant kids having so much fun exploring a rich environment of learning, where they can create models of the world, run the models, and methodologically analyze the results. And this is really where we want to be getting with kids who learn mathematics. It's where the good stuff lies. And I also remember how difficult it was to push the students to gain analytical insight without the interventions of human teachers. And that kind of brilliantly lighted up my motivation to do socially relevant work in getting AI to help ELEs make the final push to really being transformational. And I think that the community in itself and also the wonderful variety of examples we have throughout the years really show the potential of making a real impact and a real difference in using AI. And let me just give you a few examples for the kind of research endeavors that we've seen running actually in the classroom. So in Israel, we've had AI help collaborative learning occur between students. And I remember going into a classroom and you couldn't hear a pin drop. You know, usually classrooms in Israel are so noisy, but the students were so encaptured and thank you, and happy to be working together that the AI was there to help teachers kind of push them in the right direction. And when you do AI well, teachers can make a decision of whether or not to intervene and in what capacity. So I remember a teacher saying, the AI system is telling me that they're on the wrong track, but I love what they're doing and how they're talking about solving a problem. This was about geometry, so I decided not to intervene. So I agree with Manolis that AI isn't perfect, but by combining it in the right way within the classroom, we're able to push the students exactly in the right direction. And, you know, to summarize, I think that AI and ELE are the holy grail, not only of education, but AI in general.
Thank you. Thanks. Interesting. And the alarm didn't go off, so that's 2 successes in one. To respond to Manolis, I'll ask Tanja for 2 minutes.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm back. So, and I'm supporting Manolis. So while I first have to say, I agree with Kobi that ELEs are very exciting and I'm very interested in AI and strategies. So why am I arguing against AI for ELEs? I am arguing against it because I'm working in this field and it's very difficult. As my colleague Manolis just said before, most of the research that we have seen is very narrow and very focused on exactly one ELE or exactly one task. We have also done a literature review about that, and most researchers work with exactly one type of ELEs. So why is this the case? AI is really good at detecting patterns, detecting relationships in data. AI is not so good at explaining and interpreting. So we can solve this in 2 ways. We can do the traditional way, the research that I have seen, a lot of feature engineering, a lot of coming up with the models, which doesn't scale well, and that's why researchers are working so narrow with one environment. It doesn't scale, we cannot transfer it. Or we could go the new AI way and do deep learning. So we could scale easier, we could be more abstract, we could transfer, but we completely lose interpretability. Nowadays in AI, we have methods for interpreting neural networks, but as we have seen in my work, in our lab, these are not at the human level. These are feature importances or numbers. So we are just, while we have AI and we can detect patterns, we are just not there yet that we can communicate what we found in a meaningful way to students, which means at the moment, I think that it's still an ivory tower where researchers have a toy where they do their narrow research that works exactly for their environments.
Thank you, Tanja. Thanks a lot. And again, so we thinking about the generalizability and ability to transfer across models, tasks, environments, certainly a big challenge. And that I'm sure Inge will tell us it can be solved. Inge, 2 minutes.
Thank you. So thanks so much, Manolis and Tanja, for your reflections on the role of AI in these more open environments. And I agree that so far we've been using AI mostly in structured environments and have been relatively successful in doing that, not so much in open environments. But I do agree with Kobi, who says that we do have some really good examples that we can build on. And I think what we really need to do is open up the idea that we need to, a lot of the AI has been focused on capturing knowledge and not so much on processes. So I think capturing processes, collaboration processes, self-regulated learning processes, motivational processes is the direction to go. So I think this is in open environments a more generic approach as opposed to a very specific approach which I would also challenge and agree with Manolis on that, but taking a more generic approach in these environments using detection of generic skills that can be reused across different exploratory environments will be the way to move forward. And I think there has been quite some advantages and good examples of that, as Kobi already showed with collaborative learning, but also with self-regulated learning. And another thing I think we need to do in order to make AI interpretable, it's important to think not just about the AI, but about the connections with the human learner. So we are looking at hybrid systems where AI and learners are collaborating together, and really looking at it from that focus will provide us with a larger interface to connect the AI with the human learners and make sure that in fact we're coming towards useful interventions for both sides. So not the AI as a unified acting agency, but the AI as an informer and collaborative partner to learn with. I think is a very good way to think about it, and also support interpretative AI in the future.
Thank you all. Let me quickly stop it before it rings. Okay. Thanks, Inge. So yeah, AI doesn't mean we need to throw everything on the AI. It means we can work with the AI, and then it's powerful engine that helps us work with diverse populations and diverse tasks. Fantastic. And next, let us see what the AI engine here in the room says. I'll show my screen again. Yes, that's the right screen. So this is the GPT-3, the language model of OpenAI, and that is their sandbox. And I gave it exactly the same prompt that we all used. And here's what the model had to say. I'll run it, and then I will read it aloud. Oh, very concise. I agree that AI can help provide support for learners in exploratory learning environments. So it defends its source of funding. Manolis, it's the other lobby, not the one to work with you. AI can provide personalized feedback and instruction, track students' progress and performance, and offer guidance that is tailored to each student's learning needs. AI can also help to create an immersive experience where the learner feels like they are an active part of the learning process. AI can also provide student-centered support, allowing learners to make their own decisions and explore at their own pace. Ultimately, AI can help to create a balance between autonomy and guidance that best suits each particular learner. It's pretty scary how good it is. I think that you guys were better, at least that. But there are interesting points here that actually if we heard earlier, Manolis saying that since we learn to rely on AI, it can also be interpreted as AI actually provides a safety net. So it allows students to actually run more wildly. I once had a professor that said that it's like kids run more on roofs when there's a fence around the roof. So when you put the fence, it actually allows us to run more freely. And maybe that is a role that AI will save here. I'll stop share, and I don't think that people, attendees can unmic themselves. Can you participate? Can you speak up? Attendees, if so, or if not?
They can ask questions in Google.
They can raise their hands, and I can enable them to speak.
Or raise hand.
They can raise their hand, and I can allow them to talk. Yep.
Perfect. Thanks, Grace.
I'm checking. Nobody's raising their hand.
How many are here?
21.
21, including ourselves, 15 attendees. So let us take a quick poll. Grace, can you launch the poll? Attendees in the room are like, we'll let you off the hook now. We really want to run another 10-minute cycle and then hear you. We're really curious to hear what you guys think. And the folks here that I know are in most risk because then I'll call on you by name.
So the poll is open now?
Oh, on Hoover. We're going to go.
Yep, it's on Hoover. So it's in Hoover and it's active. Nobody's participating. Here it comes. The answers are coming through now.
Good, I'll try to find the page.
So just go right to your session. So go right to your session, open up your session, and it's on the right-hand side.
So what we see, we have 4 results.
Mm-hmm.
And we have, 3 against and 1 for. Okay, 3-2. So 3 against, meaning research story is the thing, and 2 for AI, which is really interesting. I know it's a small sample. I shouldn't run stats of 3 versus 2. But the poll, if you go on the hover page, I'll put it on the chat window. So on the right-hand side, where there's Q&A, there's also polls, and you can see the poll there. But I think what's already interesting in this split view here is that the people in the room here are those who are actually big believers in AI in education and learning, which is why we're here at this conference. So I would expect an interesting bias towards, AI is this magic wand. And the fact that even us I have split views is interesting. Though the question was a bit more personal, was who's more convincing? Maybe that's a wrong wording, but good luck, all guys, and the against guys, or the research story, but everyone, we have 3-2. Let's move to the next topic. The next topic is about AI support for teachers. I'll paste a prompt in the chat and read it out loud. Implementing exploratory learning environments in the classroom requires much more expertise from teachers than just teaching without it. They need to understand and support open inquiry, identify struggling students, and accommodate diverse approaches and outcomes. Right? I think this diversity is one of the big challenges. Luckily, AI can provide teachers with the tools that will allow them to easily embed exploratory learning environments in the everyday teaching successfully. Agree or disagree? Okay, so again, agree here meaning that AI can give teachers tools that will allow them to implement it easily. Disagree means it's a toy for AI researchers who work with teachers one-on-one and can provide extra support that's not AI-based. And the teachers on their own, that will not change habits. And we will start this time in reverse order and reverse positions. So we'll start, if I remember correctly, with Inge arguing against that AI will make the new norm for teachers. Thank you, Inge.
Right. Thank you, Ido. So AI for teachers. We just had a very interesting discussion about AI for learners, and we already had some debate on how AI was going to support learners. Now the question is, how is AI going to support teachers to support learners? So making things even more complex than we already said a minute ago. So if we look at current AI practices, as was stated in the previous debate, it's mostly applied in very structured domains, very structured environments. And that open exploratory learning environments are by definition not. So we can ask ourselves, how are we going to help teachers support students in these very open environments? And the question is, if we cannot do it today, will we be able to do it in the future? And this aligns with the arguments that we heard before. AI is good at analyzing structured domain. AI is good at analyzing dominant patterns and recognizing dominant patterns into behavioral consequences. So we can wonder how much AI can in fact meaningfully detect inquiry processes or struggles of learners in open environments. Because are these dominant struggles, are they the same for every learner, or are they complied of N=1 sample, so really unique to all learners. The question is, how much can we reveal of that? And then say we could measure it. Say we measure patterns and we can meaningfully understand what they mean for the struggles students have. Then the next big step is, what is the good pedagogical and the tactical action to follow up on? So what is the action that the teacher in fact should take looking at the pattern? And that in fact is a pedagogical educational question that we haven't answered yet. We don't really have enough evidence-based support to understand that if we detect these patterns, what they mean and what that means for the temporal positioning of support for teachers. Is AI going to help us understand which support actions help and what action a teacher should take at a particular state in a particular environment? I have my doubts if we have enough information and pedagogical insights to actually understand how the AI would then support the teachers. So I think bringing teachers into this loop is increasing complexity even more. And therefore, I argue that this is currently still a tape for researchers and not so much a at-hand possibility.
Oh, thanks a lot. Really interesting. So if we talk for the learners about they need to detect and to interpret, right? So to identify meaningful patterns and interpret them, as we said, which is, as Tanja said earlier, now we also had to drive action. And we don't know how to do this even with perfect detection and interpretation. So we actually increase complexity by putting another a type of imperfect user in the loop, being the teacher. Interesting. Tanja, how'd it work for you to argue the opposite?
Yeah, I will argue the opposite. I'm really glad that my colleague Inge took up my argument before, and now I will argue against my own argument this time. So I will now take up an argument by my colleague Inge from before, where Inge said maybe the AI does not need to be perfect because we can have the human in the loop. So now what I argue is that if we now do AI for teachers, we can have the human in the loop. So I argue that human teachers, if they know what the problems of their students are, they are good at doing something about it. They are educated in pedagogy and teaching. They are educated in how to build groups in the classroom and how to teach a subject. However, ILEs are very complex. They have very complex data and very complex patterns, as we heard. So I argue that that's where the teacher can need the AI support. As a teacher in a classroom of 20 students, I cannot observe in detail what every student is doing. AI can do that. AI can detect in detail what every student is doing and give me some diagnosis. That might not be a perfect diagnosis, but it can tell me 7 of your 20 students struggled in these parts. And then as a teacher, I can decide, as Kobi brought as an example before, I can do something about it, or I say, oh, it's good, I let them struggle. Then the second thing is, that was also brought up, is we don't really know how good strategies might look like in such an environment. So there's no catalog, so it will be very hard for a human to categorize, but AI can categorize in a data-driven way and detect these good strategies. So AI can help to detect what good strategies are in a data-driven way. AI can detect patterns that we can communicate to the teachers, and the teachers can decide what they do. And then the last thing is that if we have the human in the loop or the teacher in the loop, AI and the teacher can work together to improve each other. So the teacher can also say, no, I don't agree here. I think that's the wrong categorization. They can correct it and our AI methods can learn. So to summarize, what I think here is that while AI is not yet ready to be used directly by the learner because we don't have the interpretation, I argue that it can be used by the teachers because they themselves can help interpret and do the correct actions.
Oh, thank you. Really interesting. So I'm trying to, again, self-explain to myself. Essentially, then you say, well, Inga, the 3 challenges of detecting, interpreting action, you're right, they are challenges. But luckily, we have a partner, a culprit in the classroom, and an expert one, the teacher. And so the AI does not need to be perfect. So actually, the presence of the teacher makes it much easier for the AI, because the AI can suggest students can be wrong, can suggest patterns, doesn't need to interpret them, and it doesn't even have to have expert actions. The teachers is the expert one, and the AI can help with the attention span and detection and get the teachers do what teachers are good at, which is supporting learners. Actually, I missed within this side there this time. Perfect. Who's next? Trying to remember. Oh, Kobi. Why is everything Tanja said is wrong?
Isn't it the GPT-3 now?
No, at the end, after the rebuttal.
Okay, so I get to present my position which is to defend the AI as a research toy for teachers. And I should start by asking Tanja, what kind of science fiction world do you live in? So 20 students in a classroom, I mean, maybe in Switzerland, not where I live. And the teachers, they're already overworked, underpaid, not the other way around. The last thing they want to do is to have to support and be the victim of yet another bad technology that tells them what to do in the classroom. And I think that AI is simply one step, in one further step in this litany of bad technology that we keep dumping on teachers and expect them to be able to not only teach, but also support the students and their own workload with this technology. It doesn't work. I mean, there's a reason why teachers aren't making use of any kind of ELEs today, and not only with or without the AI support. I recently visited a Connected Worlds implementation of a causal loop system in New York, where they had a biological ecological system that was operating as an immersive technology ELE. And kids could kind of run around and experiment with ecological thinking. And there was analytical tools. There were lots of students signing up for the experiment because it was so much fun. And what do you think the teachers were doing with all of the analytics? Nothing. Why? Because it wasn't presented to them in a way that can help. And AI is totally in its infancy about any kind of support tool for real world domains. And this is just another example. I'm sorry, Tanja.
Thank you, Kobi, and good
Hello.
job. So here's what I hear. Yeah, hello. What I hear actually is interesting. We do two things with teachers. One is we're throwing at them technologies, and then the other thing we do is we blame them for not using them. And I think we're really good at both, frankly. And AI in exploratory learning environments will join smart boards and all other, and augmented reality and all the other magic solutions that are piled up in the storage rooms in the back of schools, instead of giving kids some decent instruction. Interesting. Thank you, Kobi. Manolis, 2 minutes. Save us.
Save us. There's no debate anymore. There's no debate because you all said it all. But basically, I'll use Kobi's argument earlier that ELEs are the holy grail of AI as well, because it is. We have demonstrated already, even in small specialized areas, and despite the critiques we had before, on how some of this can be addressed. I think. Obviously, I agree with Tanja in this in this round, and Inge kind of challenged us to think of how to understand and how AI can help us understand even better learning in this context, but also support learning. And in fact, we have examples on all these areas. So, on one hand, what Kobi mentioned about teachers and schools and so on, one of the main reasons that ELEs themselves are not used in the classroom has to do with this difficulty of orchestrating the classroom, of knowing what students are doing and so on. And kind of almost by coincidence, the pedagogy that hasn't been served so far by learning analytics is indeed exploratory learning. And so the work we've done in the past, but also others in the group, have started showing that by bringing the two together, the learning analytics on top of some kind of analysis of the data, we can support teachers to prioritize which students to help, which to provide support, how to group students, as Tanja said earlier, not in random ways, but based on the actual similarities and the things they've done on their environment. So I think we are there. We just need to push more.
Nicely done. So what actually Manolis you're saying is, well, they haven't been used because we're done badly. Indeed, teachers need support. The right solution is not to just drop technological advancements. The right thing is just to give teachers what they need, i.e. support. Hence, AI will actually bring these out of the closet and into the students' desks. Fantastic, really interesting. So I'll do GPT now, the language model, and then if one of the participants attendees want to comment, that's welcome. And then we'll do a vote and an open discussion. So I'll share my screen. That's always hard here. 2 years of COVID, so I've been to do this. Teacher support, again, the same prompt exactly, and let's run. So AI again thinks that AI can provide teachers with tools to help them implement exploratory learning environments in the classroom. AI can be used to provide personalized learning experience for its students. We realize that, allowing students to effectively tailor instruction to meet individual needs. AI can also be used to track students' progress, identify struggling students, and provide feedback in real time. This can help teachers make more informed decisions about instruction, allowing them to better support open inquiry and accommodate diverse approaches and outcomes. I think someone didn't add much to what was said earlier. Okay, I see some comments in the chats.
How could GPT-3 add more since it's reading our papers to be able to write these things?
Yeah, it's reading the introductions, right? Where in the introduction we write AI can help to do all these things. And then in the method we write how it's done. I mean, the whole debate now was it's hard to do it. So that's the hard thing. So yeah.
Here's another thing I did with GPT, which is much worse. For example, what would Prof. Tanja and let's say Manolis, Mavrikis think about this?
To say something about the picture is not clear and more work is needed.
Likely be in favor of using AI to support teachers in implementing the process. They both recognize the importance of open inquiry and the need for teachers to be equipped with tools to accommodate different learning styles and needs. Oh, it blamed you with learning styles. I can provide teachers the insight recommendation. Okay, good. I'll stop sharing. Perfect. Arun, can you unmute yourself? And I really want to hear what, following up on what you just wrote in the chat. Thank you, Arun.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I was just thinking like some of these frameworks in cognitive literature, they bring up new ways to assess students. For example, the one that I cited there. One of the comments from the panelists was that why would you want to give an additional tool that is more cumbersome for the teachers among the other things that they have to take care of? Would it not be considered as a PD like for the teachers in some way where whatever they were using so far can just be changed by using this tool instead, and probably showing its efficacy in that sense, like not as a negative, not portraying it as a negative solution, but more like just an alternate solution to the existing,
Yeah, this is interesting. I'll take a minute to respond to this. It's a struggle we have right now in Israel. So in Israel, the curriculum is central. Most schools teach from the same curriculum. And the math curriculum for elementary school kids just added an adaptive system for 3rd, 4th grade. And teachers do not understand how to deal with the adaptivity. They don't understand how to read the dashboards because as number of success doesn't mean anything anymore because it's two different problems. And essentially teachers do one of two things, most teachers. Either they completely trust the AI and just let students run and the classroom gets very messy and diverse differences, or the teachers constrain the AI. They find a way to limit students to the same unit and essentially take all agency from the AI. So we tried professional development, PD activities to help teachers understand the AI. And it's not working well, right? It was mentioned here by Kobi, I think, how teachers are already overworked and underpaid. Either they don't come for the PD sessions and they come and just do different things. The decision to use AI is not the teacher's decision. It's a superintendent decision, the city decision. Like the teachers have no choice in using it. So it's not that they come to the PD excited, they come to the PD annoyed. So yes, it's a good idea. So far, we haven't figured out how to do that well. Any other comment, or shall we vote and then open the floor again? We can also end early. That's our original plan was. But let us vote again. Who was more convincing in the latest round about support for teachers? Grace, can you launch another poll, please? Oh, good, it's on, I see. So guys, if you go back to the poll list, so the second poll, again, of who was more convincing, on the right-hand side of the HOVA page. Arun, thank you for the reference. I'm not familiar with it. I will look at it. Oh, there are 10 results already. I cannot see them. Grace, can you help us with the results?
Yeah, I can see. So there's seven so far, 3 for, 4 against.
Oh, interesting. Again, an interesting split here. And again, a slight majority for the against. So at least it means that all of you guys are on the winner side in one of the rounds. There's a very beautiful book by Hannah Fry, one of my favorite science journalists. She talks about how we are afraid of AI, and yet we trust it with everything. And we keep saying, "Oh, AI is so stupid," but then we trust it to do things we don't even know.
It's also sad that we were. So it's also sad that we were all on the winning side for against, because in theory, I guess we are all doing research in these fields. So you're for.
Yes, you're right, Tanja. Well, on the other hand, it means that we have a big challenge. These are more fun to tackle. I'd be very happy. Thanks, Grace. I'd be very happy to get another 1 or 2 comments from the audience and then release us. But I'm really curious about you guys. It's hard to speak just to ourselves. So some attendees who would like to share their thoughts or questions.
If while we wait, I was wondering, go back to what you were saying about PD in Israel and everything, and like the specific context. Just two thoughts, kind of. One is that I think we focus a lot, and okay, well, for the purpose of the debate, obviously we picked sides and so on just to make it fun. But to answer to Tanja as well, I think we are all trying to be kind of balanced anyway in how we are doing our research, and for us, for all of us, I think it's an empirical question. We've been focusing a lot on how to support students directly, give feedback, and so on. And I think Inge touched on this a little bit before, and we kind of glossed over the challenge that there is another angle to all of this, which is using AI as a way for us to understand learning, as in us, I'm talking about, I don't know, the research community or teachers or whoever, policymakers, whoever needs to might understand that. And okay, fair enough. It might be again too academic, intellectual stimulation kind of thing. But if we get results from using this larger data that would be otherwise difficult to do with the other methods we have, or would be painstaking analysis of videos and so on, then that's quite meaningful as well. I think this is another.
Right, we talk about students, teachers. Manolis adds another community of users, which is us researchers, policymakers, theory builders, and large body of data that relates to Danielle's opening keynote, and will help us actually understand what is going on. Actually, when I talk to teachers who use simulations often do not understand whether students are learning or not. And actually us, by approaching these large-scale data sets, emphasis on large, we don't necessarily have these yet, we need to build them. And again, across activities, across platforms, as Tanja mentioned, can help us understand learning and provide offline support for all this process. Thank you. I want to give us a break. There was another question about trustworthiness of GPT-3 learning from us, but I would like to give us a short break before the next session. So Arun, is it okay if I'll close it now and we can talk more later? Thank you, everyone. Sure, thanks, Arun. Thank you, everyone. I hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. And if you want to follow up with us, it's pretty easy. We'll be really happy to hear more your thoughts and reactions. And dear panelists, thank you, tons, heaps of thanks.